3 years ago, I hit record for the first time on this channel with a mission to challenge Western media's portrayal of China. Back then, hardly anyone in my home country really knew what everyday life in China was like. Some of my videos debunking sensational headlines and addressing misconceptions resonated far more than I ever expected. You see, to some, the videos struck a chord because people were hungry for an on-the-ground perspective. To others, it was so unbelievable that life in China could be like this, like normal, that they were labelled as propaganda. I was a British guy in China at a time when there were very few foreigners here because of COVID, calling out the narratives I saw in Western news. And viewers told me it was refreshing to hear a different side of the story. It felt important at the time, and it was. But today, I want to talk about why I've decided to stop making videos that focus on defending China, and where this channel is headed next. You see, over the past few years, something remarkable has happened. The global narrative about China has started to shift. When I first moved here, it felt like I had lived my life within a massive bubble of misinformation. Just think, a whole industry of think tanks, pundits, and media outlets have been bent on painting China as a villain for decades. But now, in 2025, it seems that wave has broken. The truth is, I no longer feel I need to constantly rebut Western media propaganda. The world is catching up to what I and many others have been saying. Public perception of China is changing, of course, not because of what a small YouTuber like me says, a small part-time YouTuber like me says, but because of what people have been saying, seeing with their own eyes. Why the change? For one, the Western propaganda machine is running out of steam. In fact, even some of its main engines have stalled. A prominent think tank that spent years churning out anti-China reports recently had its US funding cut off, plunging the whole anti-China ecosystem into a crisis. In other words, the business of distorting China's image is quite literally going bankrupt. And without that constant drumbeat of negative, often exaggerated coverage, people are finally getting some breathing room to rethink their views. At the same time, a new generation has grown up with different sources of information. Younger Westerners aren't just swallowing the old stereotypes about China. They are on TikTok, they are on YouTube, they are on Instagram Reels, and they are seeing real life here. And it shows in their attitudes, because a recent survey found that Western youth hold far more positive views of China than older generations. Why? Well, young people get information from the internet. They tend to travel more. And they also watch vloggers and streamers, which I'll get onto in just a minute. These vloggers and streamers can garner hundreds of millions of views and impressions with a single piece of content. Whereas their parents grew up in the Cold War era of one-sided propaganda. The old Red Scare narratives are crumbling, and many of today's youth just aren't buying those tired stereotypes. So, let me give you a powerful example of how things have changed. Recently, YouTube megastar iShowSpeed, probably amongst the top 5 famous people on the planet to the age range of 14 to 25-year-old boys, visited China. Not as some political statement, but just to have fun streaming his travels like he does all around the world. And guess what? Of course, his trip went mega viral. Millions of Western viewers who might never have thought twice about China were suddenly glued to live streams of this 20-year-old American exploring Beijing, Shanghai, Chongqing, Chengdu, Hong Kong, and many other places. They saw him test driving the latest Chinese electric cars, marvelling at tech and drones and city life, and sharing how advanced China has become up against rivals, economic rivals, geopolitical rivals like the US. Each of his streams lasted hours and attracted tens of millions of views firsthand, with all of his videos and highlights of his tour then being clipped and re-edited and uploaded, and again, getting hundreds of millions of impressions and views, effectively making Speed an accidental ambassador. He showcased China's development, its cleanliness, and its culture. Think about that. A year or two ago, a lot of Westerners' idea of China was from grim news reports. Now they're watching a goofy, entertaining YouTuber over here having the time of his life. That does more to smash stereotypes than any polished state media video ever could. It's unfiltered, it's raw, it's entertaining. China, for its part, has made it so easy for more people to discover this reality firsthand. The visa-free policy, which has been expanded to dozens and dozens of countries, including almost all of Europe. For the next year, if you hold a passport from one of those countries on the list, you can come and travel in China for up to 30 days without a visa. Now, that is huge. It's incredible. It's done incredible things. It's never been so convenient to just book a flight and come and see this country with your own eyes. This visa-free policy was the turning point. It showed that China was confident, it had nothing to hide, and it's open to the world, and wants people to come and experience it with no filter. And clearly, people are doing just that. From internet personalities like Speed to young backpackers and students and vloggers, the more people that visit, vlog, and share their genuine experiences, the less need there is for people like me to sit here talking about US aid-funded or BBC or CNN reports. The truth of everyday life in China is becoming common knowledge. People around the world have more access to Chinese perspectives than ever before in history. Social media has allowed Chinese voices and expat vloggers like me and many others to share unfiltered content, which is then backed up by other people coming here and seeing it for their own eyes, with their own eyes. 10 years ago, it was easy for negative images of China to go unchallenged. But nowadays, a newspaper prints something outrageous about China, you can bet that thousands of people online will fact check it, including those actually living here. And the result? The credibility of the old narrative is shot. I used to feel personal responsibility to counter the misinformation out there. But China is open for anyone to come and see. The record is setting itself straight day by day as reality exposes the lies. When I think back to when I started this channel a couple of years ago, the world was in a completely different place. Travel to China was literally impossible back then. The borders were shut to tourists, and you could only come if you had a work visa, which I was incredibly lucky in that time to be accepted for. Remember, we were in the middle of a pandemic, and misinformation filled the void of a lack of Westerners in the country. I remember reading comments from viewers who were shocked to see that China has modern cities, high-speed trains, clean streets, happy families, just normal things, but things that they had never seen before in Western media or had been told the opposite was true. At that time, just showing a normal street in Shanghai was hit back with claims of propaganda, that they weren't real streets or real people, or it was CGI, or it wasn't actually as clean as it looked. Many of you have been on this journey with me since those early days, learning along with me as I explored Chinese culture, history, and daily life. Now, as we stand here in 2025, it's amazing how much more common knowledge it is that China is not some backward, closed-off land, but a dynamic, perhaps the dynamic, most advanced country. The stereotypes are fading. The curiosity about China has blossomed into genuine understanding for so many people around the world. I mean, when even mainstream influencers with tens of millions of followers are highlighting China's positives, you know that we've turned a corner. We are entering what many are calling the Chinese century. And living here in China, you can feel it. This isn't about saying that one country is better than another. It's about recognizing that China has become a leading force globally and will continue to be throughout the 21st century and beyond. There is no doubt about that. Economists have noted that China has already replaced the US as the driver of global change in many ways. We're seeing Chinese tech innovations adopted worldwide, or banned from being adopted worldwide out of protectionism. We're seeing Chinese tourism and culture reaching every corner of the globe, and international diplomacy increasingly running through Beijing. So, what does this mean for this channel? Well, contexts have evolved. China doesn't need small-time, part-time YouTubers like me to defend it as if it was some underdog. It's not. It's the major player, entering a new era of confidence on the world stage. And China is so much more than just politics. It has 5,000 years of culture and history, language, incredible landscapes. So instead of focusing on what others say about China, I would rather show what China is and where it's going and what it's all about from the eyes of an expat. So with all that in mind, videos will now have a fresh focus. Of course, I'll still discuss something especially newsworthy from time to time, but the content is going to shift in tone. I'll start to focus more on travelling across China, the cities and places less well travelled. Many of you know that my girlfriend is Chinese, and we are excited to show more of our life as a cross-cultural couple. From our daily routines in Shanghai to teaching each other our native languages, to how we celebrate holidays, to the east-west differences that we navigate. I'll also be diving into local traditions, food adventures, experiences, and sharing the rich culture that China has to offer. And of course, I'll still share videos of China's latest tech developments and infrastructure. The goal is to provide the same truth and authenticity about China, but delivered in a more personal, engaging way. Instead of perhaps hearing me sit here and talk about the latest propaganda piece pushed out by the West, you'll see me and my girlfriend living our lives over here, our normal daily lives. And through that, you'll see the reality of China. Just real life. To all of you who have been with this channel since day one, I want to say thank you. I know some of you have subscribed along the way specifically because you appreciated the way that I perhaps tackled Western misconceptions. So you might be wondering, is Harvey abandoning that mission? Well, absolutely not. My core mission with this channel has always been to share a diary, to look back on my travels, and to share the truth about China for viewers around the world. And that isn't changing. The only thing that's changing is the format. So here's to new adventures. See you in the next video.